So hi everyone, it is Jess from Your Inner Vitality, and today we have a special guest, Terra Nicolle, which you are an osteopath. Also, as among other things that we've had with you before in the past, you also are a yoga therapist as well. So thank you so much, Terra, for being on the show with us today. And I would love to just open up the floor, maybe introduce you to yourself to those who maybe haven't heard from you before.
Welcome. So thank you so much, Jess, for having me. As always, I love to come on. I have so much fun chatting with you back and forth. So my background is osteopathy. I'm also a yoga therapist. I've been a healer of sorts since the beginning of 2000. So I'm always up for sharing any new information or education that I have. Through YogaFit, I actually teach mindfulness and meditation course. So I'm going to touch on a lot of those things, the breathing techniques and aspects, and then, how do we integrate the mind and body part of that into our daily lives? Mindfulness and meditation doesn't mean sitting on a cushion and oming. That is the picture that we all have when we think of it.
Yeah.
But it's how do I get in touch with my body in this day and age that we live in of busyness? We wear busyness like a mask so that we don't have to think about how we're feeling or what might be happening within our bodies. We understand that every day we are triggered by things. So in understanding that those are simply emotions, and then how can I look at those emotions and sort through them without having to walk through everything. We don't have to understand why things are causing a certain sensation in our body in order to unwind that. So those meditation techniques are quite honestly anything we can lose ourselves in. So people often say, is it just sitting or just breathing? But it's anything that you do that you lose track of time. That is a meditation. So for some people that would be running. Other people that could be working on their car. It could be reading a book. It could be listening to music. Anything that puts us into a meditative state, where that flow state, where we're very aware of our surroundings and our place in space without being caught in the past or thinking ahead to the future, but allowing ourselves just the opportunity to be present. And so, those are really, really important tools to be able to pull out of our toolbox. And I find that everyone's looking for this magic search for happiness, positivity courses that you can take. I mean, and what we're not realizing is that by making that elusive search for happiness something that's outside of us, we forget that we have everything that we need within ourselves. It's just, are we able to access it? So
yeah, you say a couple of good things there. You talked about the busyness being a mask, which I have definitely experienced that before, and you don't even realize sometimes that you creep into that mask and start playing that facade. And then the last part that you were just mentioning too was that we have everything that we need. And sometimes when we know we need to get something different or make change, we make it difficult to obtain and achieve because we have to have all these different layers or rules that we put in place or tools and resources. And that prevents us from actually getting to the other side of it. Whereas when it comes to the mindfulness and meditation component, it really is just about consciously taking that time for yourself.
And that's exactly it. Making time for yourself. And you don't need a new book. And you don't need a special cushion or a scented candle, or you simply need yourself. And so that's the cheapest way to achieving even just contentment is realizing that it's focusing on how can I look at the emotions that I'm feeling around me and not be affected by them. And so when we teach this course, we're teaching people instead of being reactive, we're asking them to, step back and take a look at their thought process before they react. So, yeah.
Easier said than done sometimes.
So much easier once emotions are involved. I mean, we talked a little bit about that. Innately, how we react is based on our experiences of where we have been in the past. So every reaction is simply our understanding of, I have been here before. And
that's powerful.
yeah. And so in thinking that this has been the process, this has been what has happened before. So because of that, I will react really quickly to get past that. And what we don't realize is if we stop and understand that we don't have to be driven by our emotions, instead we can be curious about, why am I expecting this outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way we can change how we react within any situations in life. So we often say the practice of meditation isn't saying that we won't be in uncomfortable situations. It's saying that irregardless of the situation that I'm in, I'm able to find peace.
So regardless of what situation we're in, we're able to find peace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a space where maybe we start going into some tips. I'm like, okay, so how can we find some of that inner peace for ourselves so we don't maybe necessarily react? Do you have any suggestions to that right away?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
The first is, so we call it the kind of the FIT acronym, if you want to think of that.
I
So
remember this from our last call, so I'd love to, if you could share it again. Yeah.
yep. So what are the facts? So taking a moment just to process, what are the facts? So in any situation that you're in, not what I'm experiencing or what are the emotions that are driving this, but just the facts. And then how do these facts impact me? So in the past, these certain set of facts, whatever they are, have caused me to react in this way. But today, I'm going to take a look at the facts as they are, just facts, and think through a process of what track, so the T, can I take to walk through this. So I think I mentioned before that the tracks can be, for some of us, whether we make ourselves so busy that we don't have to address. So if we take it back to busyness, so I'm so busy, I don't have time to look at that. I have more important things to do. And so I'm just going to kind of push it aside and continue through. And if we think about where that might even be in our vocabulary, it's saying to someone, I am too busy to deal with this right now. So I will come back to it at a time when I have time for it, but I don't have time right now. Or even successes, right? So like I will dive headlong into something that I know will make me so focused that again, I won't have to sort through what I'm going through. Distractions.
Yeah.
So, but if we stop first and look at the facts, I think the facts are less scary than the emotional process around the facts, if that makes any sense.
It can be, because we can also, those emotions make them more flamboyant and bigger, I find, in those situations. And when you have that time to step back, or not time, but when you create that moment to step back, I think it also creates that rationale for you. Now, is I impact?
Yeah, how does that impact me?
Okay, so it's F-I-T.
F-I-T. Ultimately, that's how we all deal with everything, is the I. So we'd like to think we're being generous and no, I'm doing everything for all those around me. and which is a nice mindset to have. And I'm sure that we all, to some point, are focused, but the I still plays a big part in it, because we make our choices based on how does that impact me ultimately.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's being realistic within that too.
So we've got the facts, impact, and then
The track.
tracks. That's right, the tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what track do I take when I'm in that situation, right? So do I move into avoidance? Do I move into overeating? Do I move, how am I self-soothing? It's, could addiction be a part of that?
Yes. Yeah.
How do I make myself feel better based on what's happening right here? We talk about it too in, it's like a military term, and we talk about it in our warriors track when we're going through the PTSD. So I mentioned at the beginning about, that's kind of the tag word right now everybody's talking about is PTSD. And
Yeah.
because we all are facing stressors in our lives, and
Yes.
it's how we're walking through them. So we're understanding, as we understand the mind more, we understand that what ends up happening when we've been in a certain situation in our lives, the mind is quicker to put us into a threatening situation each time it happens. So we start to see the beginnings of what might look like before was a big blowout. So all we have to see is the beginning of it, and we're already at the end.
And I feel like that's almost like a sense of self-preservation for ourselves, because I can totally say that I have been there. I'm better at not allowing myself to get to that point, but there were times that I was always playing the end game.
Definitely.
My fear, actually, and it was probably fear-led, to be honest.
Definitely, because it doesn't serve us to remember the happy things. In fact, it takes work. It takes work to think about the happy things, right? Because they happen and we're like, that was great. But we have to remember the bad things, because that's how we stay alive. So, and that's
bias.
and that's all the way back to, the beginnings of time. If we didn't learn that the tiger was dangerous, we would get ate by the tiger.
Yeah.
The problem is that we're having that same response over being stuck in traffic. So the body initiates that stress response sooner and sooner each time until we are in a state of hypervigilance. And that's what we are seeing, is that, I see it as a therapist when people lie down on my table and I ask them, are you relaxed? And they're like, yes. And they're like ramrod straight. Or we often joke about this as therapists, I'll take someone's arm and lift it up and they'll put it up, and I'll let go of it and it will still be up. And their eyes are closed and I'll say to them, are you holding your arm up? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, open your eyes, because I'm not holding it. So yeah, and they're like, oh, I thought for sure I was relaxing. So it's the inability to let go.
It's almost like a disconnect in some ways, I feel like.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
I'm right back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the body saying, if I let you have control, I no longer have control, and that's scary. So
yeah, the unknown is scary, right?
Yeah, oftentimes I'll move someone's arm and it will be very jerky, and I'll say to them, oh, is there pain in that motion? And they'll say, no. Okay, because you're holding it like there's going to be pain. No.
Yeah, that's funny.
It has hurt in the past, but it doesn't hurt today. But the body says that has hurt in the past, and so I will not relinquish control. So I've often tried to explain to people, we have our body awareness and then we have our mind awareness. And what happens over time and through our lives is when we become disconnected because we don't want to process things or experience things, then the body says, I'm still going to protect the body, and the mind says, I'm going to protect the mind. And they become two individual, almost two individual processes within the body itself. So the
Yeah, I
mind
almost feel like they could be fighting against each other and not even realize.
all the time. And I believe that that's what a stress response is, right? Is the body saying, oh, I'm a little afraid, and the mind saying, oh, we don't have to be afraid. Or the body saying, we don't have to be afraid, and the mind saying, I'm afraid. So yeah, always comes back to that, like, is it a somatic visceral response or psycho somatic response? It doesn't matter.
So just in case, and I know in our last video you explained it too. So the visceral response, those two responses you just said, those are they both stress responses?
They can be. So they can be based, but it can be, so stress isn't always a bad thing, right? Stress can be a good thing too. So
Yeah.
it's more in how is my body processing this? So is it from the more visceral side, so the emotional side, or am I processing it from the soma? So from the body, the physical side. And it
And soma
does,
is the body?
yes.
Yes, okay.
And it doesn't matter which way. That's why we talk about yoga being such a great tool, right? Because when we unwind the body, we unwind the emotions that are tied into the body without having to know what those emotions are. We don't have to, what do they call it? Whether it's top-down processing or bottom-up. So top-down is more the psychological aspect, CBT, EFDMR, like just having talk therapy would be top-down processing. Bottom-up processing is we can move the body to release the emotions that it's holding. And at that point, we can delve further into the emotional part that was holding the body, or we can just unwind the body and be done with it. We don't have to to go through the process of everything in order for the body to release things and have freedom from it.
Do you feel that it's a combination of having both the top down and the bottom up to help people through the processing?
It depends on how rooted within the body that visceral response is. So I've had patients come to me that have day-to-day stressors, and we can unwind and heal the body. But I've had other people that we fix the body, and then within a few months, we're right back in the same cycle. And so at that point, usually I say to them, I think there's more to it than just how you're sitting at your desk. And maybe we need to explore these things further. But then again, they have to be willing to do the work to find out what those things are. I can't do that for them.
No.
But yeah,
If
super
they're not
interesting.
willing, they're not willing to take that on yet. They're also not going to be as successful at it. So it is a matter of them being empowered to make that decision.
Exactly. And for me, that's where I think meditation and mindfulness starts. Because when we start to connect the body and the mind back together, then it gives them the tools that they need and the strength where they need to delve further into things.
Yeah.
But first we have to be able to feel, right?
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So typically when people start into mindfulness, we start with the breath. It's the most basic place to start. You've probably heard a million times about box breathing. Whenever we move into watching the breath or paying attention to the breath, we can think of nothing else. So we need to add a portion of breath retention, so apnea to it. The minute we hold our breath, all the mind can think about is the next breath coming in or the breath going out. So box breathing is that take a breath in, hold the breath, let the breath go, and then wait before we take the next breath in. So have you had anyone do box breathing on here before?
No, I haven't. You are going to be the first.
All right, so
I
I'll
feel
walk
like you will be. Yeah.
so I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
So sitting up nice and tall. So the first thing I tell people is that the shoulders need to be back and down and the face needs to be relaxed. And the eyes don't have to totally be closed, but they need to be soft.
Okay.
And then you need to relax your jaw. So at that point, you'll probably find that when you relax the jaw, then the pelvis softens. Those two diaphragms work together.
Okay.
Okay, and then soften the tongue. So you're relaxing the face, the throat, the shoulders are back and down. And then I just want you, before we start, to notice the breath. So can you feel the breath coming in? And then the breath going out. And then take a moment to notice, where does my breath go? So when I breathe in, can I feel the belly rise? And the sides of the ribcage open, the armpits soften, the shoulders relax further. And then when I exhale, can I feel the belly pull in and the ribcage knit together? So just noticing these things. And so we're not trying to force or change. And then we're going to take a big cleansing breath in. Good. And then slowly exhale out. So the breath going out will always be longer than the breath going in. And then again, a big inhale in. And then exhale out. And we're letting the tension go with that exhale. And then we're going to move into a count. So we're going to inhale for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then pause and wait 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pause and wait 4, 3, 2. So one more time. Inhale 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, and 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pause 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then just easy inhale and exhale. Good.
And as I come back to everybody refreshed.
Yeah.
I apologize to anyone who's hearing heavy breathing through my mic, but that was, I already feel
Awesome.
a difference and I felt I was relaxed before even chatting with you.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We're holding a lot more than what we realize. In fact, most people, if they're listening to this and they're in a seated position, just take a moment to notice if you're squeezing your inner thighs together. Like it's that simple. We are always holding, or there's always some extra tension within our body that we don't even realize is there.
It's interesting even having you guide me through that. And you talked even like, I'm relaxing underneath the armpits. And I was like, wow, I'm actually holding tension even in that area where I was like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of power to that guiding of that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's great apps. So there's a meditation app. It's free. It's called Headspace. And they have the 1-minute meditations. They'll even email you. I think it's called the 1-minute meditation, where it's just the flower on your computer screen. And you breathe with it as it unfolds and you exhale as it closes. And yeah,
I actually have their app and I use it all the time, and it is a very good app for that.
So it's so important to breathe.
Yeah.
People do not realize in this day and age how much they hold their breath.
Yes, I'm a lot more conscious of that too, and I have learned triggers of what actually has me doing that. And I think there's a lot of power in being more aware of that, because in those moments you can tell yourself to breathe, and it has you also allow yourself not to go to a reactive state a lot quicker and to be able to step back too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the whole motility aspect of breath. So as an osteopath, I know that every time I breathe in, right to the cellular level, everything opens to receive nourishment, to move fluid through. All the pumps in my body are working. Every time I exhale, right to the cellular level, everything lets go. So the body's a great example of letting go, truly letting go.
Hmm.
And so when we hold our breath, we actually stop that process, that ability for the body to move toxins in and out. And so over time, that holding of our breath is now holding toxins within our body, and then creating that like brain fog and the inability to move forward in our lives, all the things that we just think, well, I should just think better, have more positive thoughts, or what is wrong
Yeah.
with me? Why can't I just let things go? Well, yeah, we just
And
need to
so
breathe.
just need to breathe. And the technique that you did, because I've done this with even other people, I didn't realize that that's actually called box breathing. So
Yeah,
it's
so
like these
think of a
four
square,
boxes, right? That's what I was just thinking of. Yeah.
the visual of a square. And
Box
it's
breathing.
simplistic, and it's in its inception, thinking, well, of course I'm going to breathe. I'm
Yeah.
always breathing, but to what depth are you breathing?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I found even the more that I did that, each cycle of that breath of the box, it it was deeper, it was more relaxed. I had more movement in it, which is interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as an osteopath, I talk about how those diaphragms line up. So first I put your body in neutral position so that the oral diaphragm could then work with the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic floor to move fluid through the body. So it's more than just taking a breath. It's how can I put the body in the optimal position to take a breath? So we know that if we sit in a chair all day, the tailbone tucked under, the rib cage rounded, more likely than not, it's going to be easier for us to think negative thoughts,
Mhm.
because the body is being pulled down. Even the facial features are being pulled down. But when we come into a neutral position, I asked you to relax the jaw,
Mm.
to soften the throat. Yeah, it actually brought you to a smile. When you were sitting there even,
Yeah.
uh, and we know that a smile is contagious, not only in what it does to our features or musculature, but emotions and releasing of endorphins, right? So, a great thing that I talked to you about at the beginning is Mindfulness in a Frantic World. It's a great book. It's by Danny Henman and Mark Williams. We use it for our mindfulness training, but they actually talk about in it that a smile, just like a frown, is contagious. And when we smile, the people around us smile at us. So then it makes our life as a whole just more pleasant.
Yeah.
But if we're frowning and then we look out, and so then people around us are frowning, then it makes our life experience a lot less pleasurable, more negative, and then we're drawing more of that towards ourselves. And then the mindset begins to go into that as well. So that's where meditation and mindfulness asks us to step away from that and to be less driven by our emotions and more about how are we feeling physically, how are we feeling in this space, not mentally how am I feeling, but how does my body feel, and then reconnecting with that.
So where do you take us from here?
Well, I'd like to take you through, well, we've done a breathing technique, so I'd like to take you through a body scan,
Okay.
because we know that walking through first the breathing, and we need to have a breathing practice every day, and then doing a body scan enables us to see, where am I holding tension? So we often tell people at the beginning, if you lie down to do a body scan and you fall asleep, that is okay. That means that your body needed rest. You didn't
Huh.
fail at it.
Yeah.
You just had a different purpose for it that day.
Hmm.
And eventually it can turn into a contract, relax. We know that when something's really tight, the worst thing that you can do is try to stretch it. Because if you take something that's really tight and you
Yeah.
try to stretch it really quickly, it only becomes tighter.
Hmm.
Yes. But if you take something that's really tight and you make it tighter for a moment, it can relax. And so in a body scan, as we walk through the body, we do like a contract, relax. So people will say, I am relaxed, right? When
Mhm.
they first lie down. But then if you ask them to contract something even more and then let go, they now understand what a feeling of relaxation is. And it's easier for them then to notice when they're contracted if they know what it feels like to actually relax it.
Hmm. Is the best way to do this lying down then?
Um, it is,
Yeah,
yeah. But
that's the
for
optimal.
yeah, but for today, like I can walk you through it in a seated position.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did for the breathing. I'm just gonna
Okay.
pull up my script. So the great thing is there's scripts for everything. If you're if you're unsure where to look or you have to be relaxed, so you can't read this to yourself. There's great body scan relaxations on YouTube. There's a million of them. So just
Yeah.
find a voice that actually helps you or facilitates you to be relaxed. There are triggers and everything. So if it sounds like you're a grade 1 teacher, probably not a good thing. If you don't have a good memory of that, or if it sounds too monotone, like you need to pick a voice that feels more comfortable for you, and then you'll be able to relax and move through it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just get you to again relax. Um, so optimally, you would lie down on a mat or a thick rug or bed. And if it feels comfortable, allow your eyes to close. And let your hands relax and open, palms up by the side or on your lap. And I want you to make sure your feet are uncrossed and allow them just to sink into the floor. So notice the sense of the body as a whole and the contact between the body and whatever is supporting you. Remind yourself that you're not trying to get anywhere or striving to achieve any special state. The intention of this practice is simply to spend time with each region of the body in turn and cultivating awareness of what's already there. So you're not looking for anything special to happen. You're just allowing things to be just as you find them. So I want you to see if it's possible to let go of the tendency to want things to be a certain way or to judge how you're doing. Simply follow along with the instructions as best you can. And whenever your mind wanders away, as it will tend to do, just simply bring it back without giving yourself a hard time. So I want you to notice first the attention to the sensations of the breath in the abdomen. Notice the stretching of the belly wall on the in-breath and the falling away on the out-breath. Allow your attention to remain here for a short while, resting on the sensations of your breath. When you're ready, I want you to take your attention and move it like a spotlight down to the body, to the feet. And notice the sensations in both feet. Notice the sensations in your toes. So go ahead and wiggle your toes and then relax. Point your toes long and away and let it go. Flex your heels. Feel the back line of the body stretch and then let it all go. Feel the feet grow heavy And then take a moment to notice the sensations in the toes, the soles of the feet, the heels, and the top of the feet. What's there right now? If there are no sensations, then simply register that as a blank. If there are changes, tingling, softening, simply note this. Remember, there's no right way to feel. Simply allow the attention to remain here for a few breaths. Now take a deeper breath and let go of the feet on the out breath. Let them dissolve in awareness. Bring your attention to your calves. I want you to tighten the calves. So again, point the toes long and away. And then let it go. Again, stay here for a few moments. Notice any sense of contact with whatever you're lying on. And then again, take a deep breath. In, and on the out breath, release the attention from the lower legs. Bring your attention to your knees. I want you to pull your kneecaps back, so tighten your quadriceps. And then let it go. And don't think about the knees, but just sense any sensations that may be there. Notice which ones change and which ones stay the same. Then again, take a deep breath in, and on the out breath, let go of the knees. Shift your attention to the glutes. I want you to squeeze the glutes. Feel the backs of the thighs lift up from the floor. Pull away from the chair. Inhale, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, slowly let it go. Let the backs of the legs sink into the chair, or the back of the legs sink into the floor. And again, notice any sensations you may feel or may come to mind. Then when you're ready, take an in-breath and imagine the breath coming into the body, flowing all the way to the legs, right down to the feet. And then imagine it flowing back again on the out-breath, up and out of the body. You're imagining or sensing what it would feel like if the breath could fill the legs as you breathe in and empty from the legs as you breathe out. Take a deeper breath, and as you breathe out, let go of the legs. Allow them to dissolve in awareness. Shift the attention to the hips and the pelvis. Notice any sensations in your right hip, in your left hip, and then the whole basin of the pelvis and the organs in this region. Imagine, if you wish, that the breath could flow into this region on the in-breath and out again on the out-breath. And then let it go. Bring your attention to your low back. Start with the lower back for a few breaths. And then on an in-breath, expand the field of awareness to take in the middle of the back. And then do the same to take in the upper back, including the shoulder blades. You are now holding the whole of the back in awareness, breathing with the back. And take a deeper breath into the back, and as you let go of the breath, let go of the back as well. Feel the rib cage open and expand with each breath. The sternum lift. The armpits soften. So from time to time, you may find yourself getting distracted by thoughts and daydreams, worries, or the feeling of wanting to hurry up to move on. Feelings of boredom or restlessness may come. When this happens, it's not a mistake. Nothing has gone wrong. Simply take the opportunity to notice these feelings and distractions and then acknowledge them, perhaps noticing how they affect the entire body. And then, without judging yourself in any way, bring the attention back to where you had intended it to be, with the breath. When you're ready, shift your attention to your hands and your arms. Notice any sensations that you may feel. And bring your attention to your shoulders and your neck. And breathe with them, reminding yourself that you don't have to be in control of anything. Simply allow things to be just as they are. And then take another deep breath. On the out breath, let go of the shoulders and the neck. Move the attention to the head and the face. I want you to soften your jaw. Relax the back of the throat. Let the tongue fall into the back of the throat and the lips open slightly. Soften the cheeks. Feel the eyes grow heavy and fall into the back of the socket. Soften that small space between the eyes. And relax the forehead. Feel the scalp loosen. And the head fall back into the floor. Or simply fall back from where you are. See if it is possible to imagine that the breath could fill the whole head, that you could feel the breath on the back of the face as it comes in, refreshing and renewing with each in-breath. And then you can extend this to imagine that the breath could fill the whole body, breathing into the whole body and out from the whole body. And then finally, let go of any intentions for the breath. Simply lie or sit here with a sense of coming home to the body. Allow the body to be just as it is, and allow yourself to be just as you are, complete and whole, resting in awareness, simply moment by moment. Knowing that this is all there is. And as you bring this period of meditation to an end, perhaps congratulating yourself for taking this time to nourish yourself in this way. And remind yourself that this practice, to be more fully in the body, is a gesture of deep healing for yourself, available to you at any time. It is a way for you to find peace and wholeness as your life unfolds from moment to moment and from day to day. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Within your mind saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, body, for all that you've done for me, all that you will continue to do as I move through this day. And then slowly open the eyes.
I feel like I've just had my own personal one-on-one with Terra.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Is there anything else that you would like to add to today's chat with one another?
Just how important this practice is. I know that when people think practice, they think there has to be, time allotted, an hour, movement. And those things are all wonderful. But maybe our meditation, today it was breath and body scan. Maybe our meditation is a walking meditation and just getting outside into nature and taking a moment to hear what's around us and to see and to feel. And so reconnecting with our body is a gift that all of us need to give to ourselves.
Yeah. Even these two examples of what you did today, the first one with the box breathing was only a couple minutes, and this one was, I think, only 10, 15, not even 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
And it doesn't have to be that much.
Yeah. The 1
yeah,
minute one you were talking about too. Yeah.
Yeah, so important that we just breathe, and remembering that breath itself is nourishment.
Yeah.
And facilitates healing. So
it does. Well, before we let you go, there are two things. The first one, well, three things really. One, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some beautiful activities and tips and resources. I will make sure everybody has your contact information as well as the recommendation for that book too. I think that would be something that people may enjoy looking at and reading if they want to. The next one is, if you could be an animal, what would you be and why?
Yeah, so I would be an owl. If anybody knows me, I love being in the forest. And we have a pair of breeding owls in our forest. And sometimes at 4 a.m, it's amazing. I will hear them calling from the forest. I'm pretty sure it's just for me. But yeah, I love the fact that not only are they known as something that's very wise, but also something that's very curious. And so I'd like to believe that in my quest for knowledge and understanding and always wanting to know things a little deeper and knowing that you can never know everything. Yeah, I would, and I think I'd like to fly.
Such a neat perspective too, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you mentioned curiosity earlier in our conversation about breathing and being curious with how our body feels. And it's this wise owl that is telling us and encouraging us to also take that creativity and that curious part of that for our mindfulness too.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. And so before the last thing, Tara, before we do let you go is, what would you like people to know? I know that you are working with a mission, and if you can maybe just tell us a little bit about that, that would be awesome, and how we can maybe help you with supporting that cause.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so I work with a group called SIMS, and I go to Africa each year and educate midwives and physios, and I'm a part of their healing team. This year, because of COVID, I wasn't there, and I was supposed to be heading out to the outlying villages to educate the midwives in those villages about safe practices for pelvic floor, and their goal this year was infant mortality. So that was something that I was supposed to be a part of, and I am getting further education. So I know that this delay in me going out there was only to get more information to take out to them. So I've been included in a few more courses. But if there's any way that people want to sponsor me in that trip to go out there, that once my expenses are paid for to go there, any monies that are left over go to the mission hospital. So there's a bush hospital in Mukingi, and they're always looking for funds. I did have people at one point want to give me medical supplies, dental supplies. I do take all those things with me. I'm allowed for suitcases. Air Canada has been awesome with that. But
Yeah.
money, because it's in the middle of nowhere, is something that's never wasted. Yeah.
I will make sure that they have that link, just so that they can also look into that further and see how they can
Thanks,
best
Jessica.
support you.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah, I appreciate you taking the time out, Tara, for this too. It means a lot to me and to everybody out there that is listening to this. Please comment, share, who needs to hear this right now, and what is it that you like the most? And what else would you like to see from our beautiful guest speakers like Terra Nicolle? And again, thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a great afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Jess. I love
Thank-
it. I always love our conversations.